Again, first.
Well, I got another healthcare question.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so there's another aspect of this that that is concerning, and that is that the effect that the healthcare bill is going to have on our Medicaid, and I mean all the states, but ours in particular, because we are drowning from our burden.
And the federal support is going to be cut. The shell game that the Democrats in Congress just pulled to try and pretend that this multi-trillion-dollar new expenditure was actually going to reduce our budget. It reduces the budget because they cut costs of Medicare and they raise taxes in the first 4 years, and the benefits of the bill, such as they are, don't kick into year 5, and they ask Congressional Budget Office only to score the first 10 years. Well, if I've got 10 years of revenue and only 5 years of the costs, and it shows that I'm, savings a little bit, what we wanted to do is see, okay, let's score the next 10 years. And it's a disaster. It's going to put the federal government much more in debt. And where are they going to come out of that? It's going to be either higher taxes, which this economy will not sustain, or it's going to be more massive cuts to Medicare. And you can't give 30 million new people coverage on medical thing without the costs going up, and they're pretending there are going to be no costs. It's going to come out of folks that are currently on medical care, and there's going to be rationing. Mark my words, there will be. I mean, the reason Canada and Great Britain's socialized medicine systems didn't completely collapse is because people had an exit option to come to the United States to get critical medical services. I don't know where the exit option for Americans is now after this week. I really don't.
Well, one of the things with Medicaid is one of the first are the first people that doctors will cut because they get paid on such a low.
They get a low rate, and it's going to be lower. And there are long-term incentive issues here as well. What smart kid is going to want to go into medicine now when the job is going to be treated and paid like on a pay scale like the DMV? I mean, our best talent needs to be going into medical provision, and it's not going to when you've utterly destroyed the incentives.
Well, here's my question as far as the Attorney General. I also heard that there are provisions that will freeze the Medicaid programs in states so that you can't even so that the states won't even be able to revamp and try to change them themselves to be able to accommodate that they're going to be frozen. And so my question to you is, as far as the Attorney General, I mean, I know I've had one-sided conversations with the governor's office regarding established, saying, okay, we're a sovereign state here, and so is that part of the Attorney General being able to do?
It is, and it will be part of the litigation. But look, this is one of the problems of allowing the federal government to fund these things in the first place. Because if they put the money in, they get to then put the strings in. And this is just one of another strings onto that money. The problem was with the constitutionality of the federal spending program in the first place. And that's our South Dakota litigation right now. We're challenging the underlying authority to spend on local things. That ought to be a state program. And then as a state program, we get to take responsibility for it. And if it's not working, we can get rid of it, or fix it, or alter it. But when it's coming out of Washington, D.C., you don't have the flexibility in the states to make the adjustments you need. And I guarantee you, from 3,000 miles away, they're never going to get the cost and benefit analysis right because they don't have to live with the consequences. And that's why our founders gave us a system, a federal system, where we could have laboratories of government in each of the states. And some states could try things, and other states try different things, and some things will work well, and some things may work differently in different places, and so you'll have different options. But with the one-payer system, which we're going to now, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get the experimentation. You're not going to get the innovation, either in the medical care or in the government regulatory regime that deals with it. And it'll be a disaster.
As far as we were talking about being able to, that we have, not only do we have a right, but we have a responsibility to dismantle, for lack of a better word, a government that no longer works for us. Would it be possible for the states to institute laws where they collected federal income tax, held it so that individuals would not be liable? Because I know there are a lot of people who talk about, oh, I'm not paying my taxes and all that kind of stuff, and you can't do that because the IRS will eat you up.
And you can't.
Yeah.
If you don't succeed on the challenge to the constitutionality of the bill, the supremacy clause of the Constitution says that valid federal law is supreme over state law. And so the states, I was just reading John Yu's book on executive power, just finished a chapter on Andrew Jackson and the nullification crisis of 1832. And the argument was made there that ours is not a single nation, but that a confederation, and that the states are the ultimate sovereigns, and the federal government is the agent of the states. Well, that was true under the Articles of Confederation. It's not true under the Constitution. The Constitution doesn't begin "we the states." It begins "we the people." And the people of the nation created a national government that has limited powers, and the states are sovereign in the areas where the national government doesn't have powers. So if you don't win on the constitutional challenge, and the courts hold that the national government has power here, the states don't get to nullify that. And the nullification doctrine is actually a pretty pernicious one. It's what gives us John C. Calhoun and slavery and what have you. So we don't want to go that route. We have to put all of our fight on challenging the constitutionality of the thing up front.
That's what you're saying that you'll do, and other AGs will do. And what do you suggest that the people of the state of California do in the meantime, instead of pulling a hair out of their head for something to happen?
Well, there's a lot of stuff in this bill. We need to figure out what all's in there. I mean, I don't think anybody's read it from cover to cover. It's a couple thousand pages. There's certainly the members of Congress that voted on it Sunday night hadn't read it, hadn't been around. I mean, they may be real speed readers. I tend to think not. Proof that Darwin was wrong is looking at the debates in that Congress versus back in the 1790s. I don't think they've read it. So we ought to figure out all the unbelievable things that are probably buried in there, and then start realizing how it impacts you, and then keep the pressure on your members of Congress. Get involved in the next election. Pick attorney generals who have the ability to lead the charge on the litigation. But pick members of Congress who will help unravel it. I mean, this thing, until the benefits kick in full gear 4 or 5 years out, you can still repeal this. It becomes very difficult to repeal any social welfare program once people are getting their benefits. And so we've got a window of opportunity here for a couple of years to so radically change the dynamic in Congress that we can get it repealed. We may be able to get enough votes after November to repeal it, but the president would probably veto the repeal. So that means it's a 3-year strategy. This November, and then the November in 2012 to take back the White House and have the veto pen not be exercised and repeal it. But you got to get actively involved, identify candidates who will make that a principal part of their campaign, and then hold them to it once they get there, and press the issue. The people have an immense amount of power here. Madison and his colleagues in the Constitutional Convention gave us a House of Representatives that had to face the election every 2 years for a reason. It is the body that is supposed to be most directly accountable to the people. And we've insulated themselves quite a bit, with the power of incumbency and gerrymandered districts. But there's no gerrymandered district in this country that can survive the kind of onslaught you all can bring to bear in an election if you're aggressive about it.
Perfect. We're going to wrap it up. If there's any last thing you wanted to say to the people on, basically summarize why they should vote and get out and channel the energy. And I think that last comment you made would give a lot of people hope right there. And so that's what I was kind of hoping we'd find today. What would you tell them? To tell them to channel their energy and their anger right now into getting John Eastman?
Yeah. Eastman4ag.com. Go visit the website. Sign up so you can get our updates when we're in your area and speaking. I'd love to come talk to you. If you've got some extra change in your pocket, you can donate it on the website as well. That's important. Sign up to hand out our brochures and put signs in your yards when we get to that point of the campaign where we'll be doing that. But also find out who your other candidates are in the area and get involved with those efforts as well, because this has to be a sustained effort. 3 years, the next 3 years. We're talking about 3 years of our lives, in order to make a better life for our posterity. If we don't win this, we will have destroyed the best healthcare system and the best government the world has ever known. We ought not to let that happen on our watch.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks for spending the time with us today.
Thank you. Thank you, gang.